Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I got the message from our IT director that he is ready to go live. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening for our Board of Education meeting. And with that, I'll turn it over to our board president, Mrs. Gray.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Markarian. Sorry, bear with me for a second. I will read the public statement. I'll start by saying that the board has previously saluted the flag during the executive session portion of the meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Bernards Township. Notice of the time and place of the meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education to the township clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board at the Board of Education offices in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Due to the public health emergency in the state of New Jersey as declared by Executive Order 103, the board will be suspending normal meeting procedures this evening and conducting this virtual meeting. Directions for accessing the virtual public meeting were posted on the district website, www.bernardsboe.com. These same directions were posted at our intended but unavailable meeting location. We welcome input from the public. Because this is a virtual meeting, public comment will be handled as follows. Instructions for submitting a public comment starting at 7 p.m. Email to btconnect@bernardsboe.com or text 908-292-3047. Use public comment as the email subject or the start of the text message. Indicate your first and last name and your address. This is required for your public comment to be included in the meeting. Please keep your comments to a maximum of approximately 3 minutes if they were to be read out loud. No public comments will be accepted after item 19, board forum on the agenda. Before that item begins, pardon me. With that, I'll move to, I'm sorry, can we have a roll call, Mr. McLaughlin?
Ms. Beckman?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mrs. McCune?
Here.
Mrs. Richmond?
Here.
Mrs. Korn?
Here.
Mrs. Wooldridge?
Here.
Mrs. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Markarian?
Here.
Mr. Syatt?
Here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Madam President?
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. With that, I'll move to our next item, which is the student representative. Jimmy?
Hey everyone. Things are going well. It's weird, I guess, seeing the atmosphere of the end of the year where things are nice and letting up, trying to kind of, be preserved in this online environment. I think a lot of students are looking forward to the classes or the last goodbyes we have tomorrow and Wednesday. So thank you all for implementing that. Last week, we had a few students attend the BT Connect Communication Council meeting and kind of open, I guess, the discussion on how we as a district can be doing better on the subject of designing our curriculum to be more inclusive and, teach children to be anti-racist in light of events going around across the world. I think from the people we spoke to and the people that were there, they were happy to have had the opportunity, and we're looking forward to continuing that work moving forward. Again, I just want to extend a thank you to everyone in the district who's done, all they could to make the class of 2020 feel special and remembered and do their best to make our second semester senior year as memorable as possible, despite the situation that we're in. And that's pretty much all I have. This is my last board meeting as your student representative. And I just want to say that whether it was in person or online, it was wonderful being able to be at these and hear about the issues and talk to all of you. And I mean, I'll be around until August, but I'm sure that there's still a lot to be done for next year. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Does anyone have any questions for Jimmy? We all wish you the best, Jimmy.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so then we are moving on to the next item, acknowledging a 2019-2020 retiree, Mrs. Barbara Retzko, and I believe we have Mr. Fackelman here this evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Hello, Barbara. Welcome to our Zoom. It is my pleasure to congratulate Mrs. Barbara Retzko on her retirement. I knew at some point this day would come when I would be asked to speak about Barbara before you. 40 years. This is what a career is. In speaking to her peers over the last several days, two words that come up were job and career. A job is defined as a task or a duty performed by a person. A job is a trip, but a career is a journey. In a job, you invest your time and skills to earn money. But when it is about a career, you invest your time in following your dreams. In September of 1980, Barbara Retzko followed her dream and passion for music and brought that to the students, community, and school district of Bernards Township. It was a telephone call from a resident and former supervisor who helped begin Barbara's journey through Basking Ridge. Well, she didn't just pass through, she stayed and created a program that has been celebrated by students, parents, and teachers across the state as one of excellence. Barbara came here on a mission to build a program. She started at William Annan Middle School under Principal Joan Tonarelli, and shortly thereafter moved to Ridge High School, and the program began to build and take shape. From spaghetti dinners in the cafeteria to a variety of musical performances, the Ridge High School choral department really took off. More and more students were selected at the all-state, county, and all-eastern levels, and these student achievements happened with regularity throughout Mrs. Retzko's tenure. She has served as conductor for the New Jersey All-State Mixed and Women's Chorus, the Central Jersey Region 2 Mixed and Women's Chorus, and the All-Eastern Honors Women's Choir. Combined, there has been no other director to have conducted all four of those New Jersey choirs. Barbara has also been honored to conduct 6 times through Europe and 3 times in Switzerland with international honors choirs. Barbara, or Retz to her students and families, has been particularly proud of her Ridge singers as they have competed and received the highest honors throughout the years. There are a number who have gone into the noble career as music educators, 21 at last count, and they have landed successful careers in theater, and one served as the soloist for the George W. Bush inauguration representing the United States Army Chorus. Like Barbara, we are all very proud of these accomplishments. In a letter Barbara submitted when announcing her intentions to retire, she wrote, and I quote, "My long-standing love, admiration, and allegiance to Ridge High School runs deep and wide. Ridge permitted me to establish my career and reputation in the state of New Jersey as so many things: a leader and role model, a visionary, founder and creator, a writer and public speaker, and so much more. Ridge was there for my every success and for my darkest hour when we lost our precious son, Michael. The commitment runs deep." So we wish Barbara and her husband, Rick, who has been by her side for these many years, all the best wishes we can give them. I'm sure Barbara and Rick will continue the journey, and on behalf of everyone who has worked with her as a student, teacher, or administrator, we thank you for your journey through Bernards Township. Congratulations, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fackelman. Congratulations, Mrs. Retzko.
Thank you.
You're You're welcome to say a few words if you'd like to, Barbara.
Should I just smile and go?
Well, I can tell you that we're really glad you were able to join us tonight. We, as you might know, we did recognize all of our retirees at our last meeting, and we just missed getting your resignation in time to get you on the last agenda. And obviously, we want to appreciate all of our retirees and give you just a little glimpse of the limelight. And we really wanted to make sure we could get you on the agenda. So thanks, Michael, for speaking on behalf of Barbara. And Barbara, thank you for being here. I think Michael said it amazingly well. I know I emailed you just very briefly today, and the two words that I used were amazing and career. And I just feel like, hopefully all of us someday can look back on our careers and use those two words to describe our experience in combining our passion and our love for what we're doing with so many years invested in it. So I just want to personally thank you. I mean, going to your concerts and listening to the kids that you've been working with sing off and on over the years, I mean, every time it just sends chills down my spine, the amazing work that you do with the kids. So thanks for being here tonight, and thank you so much for your years in Berners Township. And stay if you will, but don't feel like you have to. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you all.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Okay, with that, we are up to the next item, which is the superintendent's report. Mr. Markarian?
Okay, well, thank you, Mrs. Gray. I did want to just thank Barbara for her career. 40 years is a really long time. So that's accomplished already. And I wanted to thank Jimmy. I know that our board president thanked Jimmy on behalf of the board, and on behalf of the staff, Jimmy and the administration, I just wanted to thank you for representing the student body so well. I think you did a great job this year, and we really appreciated having you so diligently and faithfully representing the students. I don't think you missed a board meeting. Your attendance was great. You had excellent insight and things to share about the student body. So we really appreciated having you representing the students. I just wanted to say thanks for the work you did. And also thank you for making some arrangements with some of the other students to come to the Communication Council meeting last week. I agree with you. I thought it was a great conversation. I really appreciated hearing what you and the students had to say about the topic of racism and instruction in Berners Township schools. And we do look forward to making that something that we continue to work on going forward. So thank you very much for that, Jimmy. You did a great job this year. Nice job. And that's all I have for now, Mrs. Gray.
Okay, thank you. So next we are up to public comment on agenda items only. Ms. Fox, do we have anything yet?
No comments at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so then our next item is approval of minutes. If I could have a motion and a second, please. Mr. Salmon and Mrs. McCune. And then a roll call, please, Mr. McLaughlin.
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. Wooldridge,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes,
Madam President.
thank you. All right, so we are on to the Finance Committee report. Mr. Salmon?
Do you want to do the motion for,
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Could we please have a motion?
I think we're moving items, do we say 1 through 9?
Oh,
And
that's it. A motion to move items 1 through 9 and 11 through
18.
18, please. Mrs. White and Mr. Salmon.
Okay. Finance met on Wednesday, June 10th. The first thing up for discussion was the bidding of the transportation contracts for in-district general education and special education routes. On June 5th, we opened the bids for those routes. There was one bid by a company named Kensington. Kensington bid on a subset of our double-tiered routes, so 13 buses to serve 26 routes. Mr. McLaughlin and the district's transportation consultant, Jerry Ford, spoke with Kensington and a few other the vendors that picked up big packages but didn't bid. The reluctance to bid or the limited number of bids was based on several factors. One was the large number of singleton routes that the district has. Bus companies like multiple tier routes because they're more profitable. The second issue was that there's been no guidance from the Department of Education or the state otherwise about what busing should look like or will look like, or social distancing for busing, or sanitization. And there's no perceived timeline of when that guidance might be coming out. And then finally, there's been a large delay in bus vendors getting new buses or buses repaired because during the quarantine starting in March, all bus repair and replacement companies had been shut down for 2.5 months. So vendors are looking at reduced capacity in their fleets. So with that, the decision was taken to reissue the bid request on June 10th, and we have a scheduled bid opening on June 19th, with the reissue bid being the same scope that was in the previous package. The thinking behind that is that Bridgewater, one of our neighboring districts, was out to bid for their in-district routes and would conduct its bid opening on June 12th. So any bidders that might not have been successful in the Bridgewater bid would have capacity to serve our district. So we are waiting to open the bid on June 19th to see what transportation will look like for us in the fall. Mr. McLaughlin, another topic up for discussion was the extended school year and transportation service by Union County Educational Services Commission. Mr. McLaughlin has been working with Union County ESC to provide transportations for students enrolled in extended school year programs. However, to date, there's been no guidance from the DOE about whether ESY is happening, although we just found out that it could happen. And if it is, how students should be transported, how classrooms should be organized, etc. So rather than guess at how transportation may be required, the district will proceed with distance learning and extended school year until there's more definitive guidance from the DOE, notwithstanding their comment on last week. The next topic for discussion was the Alyssa's Law grant. Alyssa's Law, which was enacted about a year ago, requires public schools to have silent alarms that are directly connected to local law enforcement. The state is providing grant money to implement these alarms and other safety initiatives. Currently, every classroom in our district has a phone that can directly dial to 911. Mr. McLaughlin has been working with Mr. Blinder, the IT director, to program phones in each building's central office, which will have a single button that directly dials 911. The grant application requires a certification from the local police department that the emergency dialing systems have been installed and are in working order. If the grant is accepted, the district could get approximately $300,000 for safety initiatives. The next item for discussion was Title I grant using Title I funds for a new summer initiative. Every year, there's approximately $100,000 of Title I carryover funds, which must be used by the fall. Ms. O'Connell has requested to use the carryover funds for providing early intervention reading and phonics services to non-classified students in kindergarten through 2nd grade that were identified through Dibble's assessments. A survey recently went out to parents about interest in such program. The next item was discussion of grants under FEMA and the CARES Act. Based on the state advisement, Mr. McLaughlin expects the district will get at least $235,000 in CARES funds due to the pandemic. Mr. McLaughlin also expects that the district will get money under the FEMA grant, which does not cap funding disclosed by the state at this time. There's some overlap between what FEMA and CARES monies will cover. FEMA will reimburse 75% of the cost of all sanitizing upgrades being performed in the district, the touchless faucets, the touchless paper towels, and hand sanitizing stations, and CARES will pick up the remaining 25% of that cost. CARES also allows for purchase of technology, which we intend to use to purchase laptop upgrades that were budgeted for over the next 2 years, and document cameras for virtual instruction. CARES money can also be used for installation of a UV air sanitizing system in the nurse's office and the board office. The next item for discussion was IDEA state mandates for subgroups. Because White is now a subgroup under IDEA, the district is out of balance in terms of spending IDEA funds for underserved subgroups relative to the total subgroup population. The district will have to reduce its allocation to out-of-district students by about $165,000 to maintain balance among subgroups. However, Mr. McLaughlin believes that the budget can accommodate this. The last item for discussion was a facilities update. At the Ridge High School Middle Gym, the floor contractor Gillespie had been doing demolition in the Ridge High School Middle Gym. There was a concrete slab under the subfloor that was covered with an adhesive that had to be manually scraped, which led to some delay and an increase in cost. The contractor also tested the moisture level of the slab and it came back above threshold levels. Mr. McLaughlin is working with the contractor, Tony Catana from Spiesel, and John Perrin to deal with the moisture in the slab. However, the adhesive scraping and slab moisture remediation have increased the cost of the project, and the contractor has requested a change order. The committee recommends approving the change order. In terms of the restroom upgrades for sanitation purposes, this week the battery-powered no-touch faucets will be delivered. In July, the solar-powered no-touch faucets will be delivered. Aramark will be installing the faucets on a rolling basis, and currently Aramark has been installing the touchless paper towel dispensers. In terms of the items that are on the agenda tonight, item 1 through 3 are standing items. Item 4 is a restatement of the district's 403B plan using a new pre-approved IRS form. Item 5 increases Mr. McLaughlin's ability to make purchases without bids from $40,000 to up to $44,000. Items 6 and 7 are annual authorizations for IDEA and ESSA grant applications. Item 8 and 9 are annual resolutions to approve supplements to capital reserve. And now we're going to put $1 million in the capital reserve and maintenance reserves, and we are funding that with the max amount that we can possibly put in there. Item 11 approves the CARES grant data application that was discussed earlier. Item 12 increases our contract with John Perrin Architect LLC for construction administration services for this year. And item 13 is a contract with John Perrin Architect for construction administration services for July 2020 to June 2021. Item 14 is an approval of a change order for the middle gym at Ridge High School for construction, as previously discussed. And item 15 and 16 are student services pursuant to their IEPs. That's it.
Any questions for Mr. Salmon?
I think I just want to make one point of clarification that we received notification today from the, actually not directly, I got it through the state business officials notification system, that the State Office of Emergency Management, which is within the Office of Department of Law and Public Safety, the State Police Operating Division, manages the FEMA grants, and we were given written clarification today that despite our specific request, and this went out to everybody in general, I should say, that the items that we thought we were going to be able to charge to FEMA for the bathroom enhancements are now not considered eligible costs. So we had asked that question very specifically before we even began the grant application, and we have in writing an email from them saying that we could do it. Their point now is that, well, they received further clarification from the federal government, from FEMA at the national level, that these items are most likely not going to be allowed. What that means is that the crossover allocation that we thought we were going to be able to do between FEMA and CARES is not the case, and that because the CARES grant is due this week, we will shift 100% of those costs to CARES because they are eligible under CARES. It simply means that right now, of all the items that we've discussed and identified, the technology piece has to be funded from within the district's other resources.
Any questions?
Thanks, Mr. McLaughlin. Appreciate that. Sorry about so much happening every day. We apologize. It's tough to get you up to speed on everything. From committee meeting to board meeting, 5 different things are happening. So sorry about that. But thanks, Rod.
Any other questions or comments about the finance report? Okay, then seeing none, Mr. McLaughlin, can we have a roll call, please? Oh, Rod, we can't hear you.
Sorry, didn't realize I was muted again. Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. Wooldridge,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes,
Madam President.
thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Our next item, pardon me, our next item is the Personnel Committee report. We have, sorry, I have to just double check the number, unless anyone knows off the top of their head. Oh my gosh. Sean, do you happen to know how many
Yeah,
items?
it's 20. It's 20.
Okay, so we have 20
Yeah,
items for
17.
approval this evening. Anyone want to first or second that motion, or a motion? Mr. Salmon and Mrs. Korn. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Schaefer.
I see 17 on the list. Are there
There's
three
an
addendum?
addendum. There's
Yes,
so
we
the-
have an addendum. tonight.
Sorry, thank you.
items 18 to 20 are on the addendum.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so Mr. McLaughlin, could we please have a roll call?
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. Wooldridge,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes,
Madam President.
thank you. Our next item is the Policy Committee report. Mrs. Korn?
Ms. Gray? Can we just, I think we want to just recognize 2 appointments that we made.
Oh, I'm so.
That's okay. No.
Oh my God.
That would explain,
Yes,
that would explain the 2 faces in our Zoom call right now, right?
Mea culpa.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
I'm so
yeah, exciting news. Obviously, I don't want to steal your thunder, Mr. Markarian, if you want to jump in, but we,
Not at all.
items
Not at
number,
all, no. Dr. Oliver is here.
yeah.
And I don't know how it looks to the public because I can't see what their Zoom screen looks like, but I see Dr. Oliver right next to Pam Lawrence on my screen. So I think that's appropriate, given the fact that Dr. Oliver is the principal of Liberty Corner School and has selected Pam Lawrence to be his next assistant principal. And we just approved that with the personnel action that the board just took. So congratulations to Pam. And if you'd like to say anything to the board or Jim, please feel free to chime in. But we're very happy for you.
Do you want me to go? Okay.
You're on, Pam.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I wanted to thank the board. It was so nice talking to you earlier, and all the administrative team. They've been so encouraging throughout this process, and more specifically to Dr. Oliver for giving me this opportunity. I'm so grateful to the students, to serve the students, the teachers, and the parents of Liberty Corner in this capacity, and I look forward to settling in as an assistant principal at Liberty Corner School. So thank you.
Well, I will say something. Thank you, Mr. Markarian. We had many resumes that we went through, but Pam, you really stood out, and I've had the opportunity to know you for the past 8 years, and you've done a lot already for Liberty Corner School, and I really do look forward to watching you grow into that leadership position. So congratulations, Pam.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Pam.
Thank you.
All right, that's awesome. So to continue the exciting news, also with us is Holly Foley. She just waved. And Holly is going to be the next principal of Oak Street Elementary School. So congratulations to Holly. and we certainly wanted to wish you well since you were just formally approved by the board, and give you the chance to say hi as well.
Sure, thank you. So I truly appreciate this opportunity to join your organization in kind of a rough time for all of us, but I'm looking forward to working together as a team and problem solving and being open-minded and listening and learning and helping Oak Street grow into this new normal. And I just want to provide the best education to every student and thank the board so much for their faith in hiring me. And just thank you for having me, and looking forward to joining this great district.
Thanks, Holly. I said to both Holly and Pam, anyone that wants to get into school administration right now, I know is very brave and all in for Bernards Township. So congratulations, you guys. We really look forward to having you get to work.
Ladies, I want to apologize. I'm so very sorry. You already seem like you've been in your role for 2 hours since we met. So forgive me.
It's easy to get a little Zoom numb when you spend so much time on Zoom.
It really is, but I feel terrible. We're very excited to have you both in your new roles and look forward to great things.
Well, you guys can feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to, but we won't blame you if you don't. Congratulations. Thanks for being here and for popping in for the meeting. Thanks.
Okay, with that, now we can move on to the policy committee. Mrs. Corn?
Okay, do we have to approve before,
we need
the first reading before I read it, or do it after I read it?
We need a motion to approve the,
first, something on first reading, right? And there's
that's right. Item 1 is on first reading.
There's 2 items underneath, right?
And then item 2 is just an approval?
Yes.
Yeah. So they could be moved together. Someone could just move items 1 and 2.
Mr. Salmon and Mrs. White.
Okay. And do you want me to read them and then we'll do the roll call after?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So policy met on Monday, June 8th. There was the first discussion we had was with regulation 8330, student records. The law prescribes how long certain student records must be retained. Student records showing that a child was a student in the district, whether it was for a couple of months or for 12 years, the records need to be retained for 100 years. That includes like the age, name, where they were, and when they were in the school district. So you have to hold on to those for 100 years. The law said that these records can be retained in paper or electronically. There's also many other records that must be retained for a short amount of time, but they still have to be stored and sorted periodically. Mr. Mercarian would like to create a spreadsheet to log the records that are being kept, where they are stored, and if they are paper or electronic. There's a lot of information that must be retained, and it has to be organized and tracked. This would be a big job, but once there is an accounting of all the records, a discussion can be had as to how best to move forward with record storage. Should we move all the, should we move to all electronic records? That would include how to store the backup system that would be necessary to store the electronic records. Discuss how it would work from this point forward. Would all files be converted or just left as paper until no longer needed? And then guideline documents would have to be created, and the regulation will be revisited when all the information has been gathered and discussed regarding the records. We also talked about policy 5120, which is the placement of students. And right now the policy currently states that K-5 pupils shall generally attend the school located in the attendance area of their residence. The superintendent may assign a pupil to a school other than that designated by the attendance area when such an exception is justified by circumstances and/or is in the best interest of the pupil. Every effort will be made to continue a pupil in the same elementary school once the pupil has been enrolled in that elementary school. Parents who request and are approved to continue their pupils in their initial school placement after residential move to a different elementary school zone will be responsible for transportation to and from the school. That's what's stated right now in the policy. And Mr. Markarian currently is interpreting the statement about every effort to keep kids in their schools as to mean that if it can be accommodated, a parent who requests to have their children remain in their original elementary school, even after they make an in-district move to another elementary school zone, will be allowed to do so. He noted that this approach may be different than his predecessor. And Mr. Markarian has been monitoring the incidents of the out-of-placement students, and they're not overwhelming numbers. The policy can stand as is, and the numbers will continue to be monitored to ensure there's no negative impact on any school. Now, the email policy is our next discussion, which is up for first reading today. So this is basically an update of policy 9200, which is cooperation between parents and schools. Since communication between parents and schools is very important in the education of all students, it was found that policy 9200 needed additional language to address the need for civility in the case of communication, particularly the appropriate use of email. So the following language was added to the policy. No, I can read that. In order to achieve a cooperative team approach in conducting the work of education for the benefit of students, civility between parents, staff, and Board of Education is paramount. Therefore, civility by staff and parents and Board of Education during communication is expected at all times. Whether communication is in person, on the phone, or through letter, email correspondence, inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated. Some examples of unacceptable conduct or speech during communication between staff, parents, or Board of Ed includes loud, aggressive, disruptive speech, profanity, insults, demeaning, or abusive language, demands, threats, and ultimatums, physical intimidation, which is finger pointing, fist slamming, invasions of personal space, harassment through repeated messaging. In-person visitors to school and school grounds whose behavior is unacceptable will be handled in accordance with the visitor policy regulation 9150. Similarly, parents whose communications is unacceptable by phone, teleconference, letter, email, or any other form of electronic means will be subject to the procedure outlined in regulation 9200. And staff members who engage in unacceptable, staff or BOE members who engage in unacceptable behavior or communication are subject to relevant board policies and procedures on staff member conduct. A new regulation was added where none existed before, spelling out the consequences for breaking the policy. Is that, I don't have to, you want me to read the regulation, or, I mean, it's up to you. It's long.
It's long. I mean, I think in summary, Mrs. Korn, the description that you provided in terms of just outlining the procedural process used if the policy is violated is accurate.
Right.
Obviously, if the board wants to hear it, you can explain it. It's not on the agenda for formal board action because this particular policy does not require that the regulation be approved by the board. But obviously, we inform you of what that regulation is supposed to do, which is to carry out the nature of the policy.
Right. Okay. So in the last discussion during the our policy meeting was regarding COVID-19. It was a COVID-19 policy discussion, and Mr. Markarian had a discussion with the district physician and Ms. Zarabara regarding adding a possible vaccine as a requirement. Adding the possible vaccine as a requirement for coming to school. It was decided that it is not practical at this time to require any type of testing or vaccine in order to come to school. It's too early and there's not enough to know. But they'll continue to monitor the changing landscape and keep us informed of any pertinent changes or updates. So that's everything from the meeting. If anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Korn? Okay, seeing none. Mr. McLaughlin, could we please have a roll call?
Ms. Beckman,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. Wooldridge,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray.
Yes.
Madam President,
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Our next item is the Curriculum Committee report. Mrs. Richmond.
I apologize to the board members, and the minutes just went out today, but we covered so many important topics that I wanted to be able to report out. So if you have any questions, please feel free. And if I don't know the answer, I will get you the answer. The curriculum met on June 5th. We talked about approving Science 6, 7, and 8 textbooks to update them. They hadn't been updated since 2002, and they're more aligned resource that reflect the current middle school science standards. We talked about option 2. I wanted to give you a quick overview of the changes that are already in place for option 2 for the 2021 school year. Ms. Haller shared that it is now the student's responsibility to get the evaluation form approved by his or her coach or instructor and turn it in by a deadline. There will be a grace period of 10 days after the marking period is complete. Both students and parents must sign off that they read the expectations for getting credit for option 2. Students will be asked to attend an informal meeting so administrators can go over the requirements with the students so everybody's on the same page. If a senior fails the marking period of option 2, his or her parent has to sign off for the parent to be eligible to take option 2, marking period 4. And all students participating in option 2 will be required to complete a portfolio to demonstrate how they have met the physical education standards. This would include a pre-plan created with their coach and a final portfolio on how their activities met the standards. And these will be graded by districts, the district's certified PE teachers each marking period. Just as a note, depending on what the fall looks like, there may be a need to move Project Adventure, flip-flop it with health, and move Project Adventure to their 4th marking period. And there were some other proposals for future changes to option 2 for the 21-22 school year, but those will be discussed further at other meetings. There was a master scheduling update. Ms. Smith reported that they've been working on the master schedule and got 86% of the students fully scheduled, and the rest will need to be hand scheduled. That's a pretty high number for us to do. And some of the complications with the schedules were with that health PE part being quarterly. I think she said we are one of the fewest districts that do quarterly in Genesis. Right, a little bit of a challenge. We talked a little bit about community service. As you're aware, 10th graders have a community service requirement that's tied to social studies. Ms. Rayfield said that given the unknowns about what the students will have access to over the summer, they've decided to hold off on announcing what the actual community service requirement will be for next year until we know what the students have access to. There may be a need to modify the program or reduce the number of hours required. They just don't know yet. Ms. Rayfield posted an update for students and families on our OnCourse site. This explains the plans for modifying the community service requirement in the fall, depending upon the return. It also includes a variety of ways that community service can be done virtually in the event that their student is looking for opportunities this summer. We talked a little bit about summer assignments and textbook borrowing. The summer assignments were posted on the district website on Monday, and on Monday, June 8th. For any of these assignments, students don't need a textbook to be issued, but for those requesting to borrow the books, they will have to wait until about mid-July after the student, after the materials are collected, quarantined, and processed. We also talked about elementary instructional and music recruitment. Mr. Fackelman explained that trying to do new instrument recruitment in a virtual environment with 3rd and 4th graders who've never held an instrument before would be a challenge. Staff put together a really incredible website. There's with a lot of packed with information about teachers, instruments, and things like that. And then there's also an area for like Ridge High School students to showcase their instruments to get the kids excited. But lessons for the new students are going to wait until we are actually back in session at school. There was an update on the summer financial literacy. As of June 5th, 113 students had applied for this online course. Because of distance learning, the in-person assessment will now be modified to be online. Mr. Fackelman said that there'll be a Zoom information session with the students to explain how the course will run. We briefly talked about Accelerated Algebra 1. Mr. Colmer has been getting a lot of inquiries from parents about the difference between 8th grade algebra and Accelerated Algebra 1 classes. Both cover the same content, but the expectations are different. Mr. Colmer said he's going to do work to better explain and brand the courses so the community understands the pathways available to students. And he's going to see how this goes and assess going forward. We also talked briefly about Accelerated Math 6. Mr. Colmer is going to hold an online math placement test for students that qualify. After speaking with several parents, he adjusted the criteria to having an average of an A or higher in the first 2 trimesters in order to sit for the placement test. Previously, students needed an A in each trimester. To date, there are 71 students that meet this criteria, and as of our meeting, I think about 59 and it indicated that they wanted to take the test. STEM, we talked about STEM 8 application process. Ms. Fox, Mr. Misiak, and a couple LAMS administrators and a couple science and tech teachers spent a lot of time reviewing the applications of 65 students, which included a video submission of a presentation of their design of a Rube Goldberg machine and interviewing them via Zoom for 40 spots. The team is in the process of reviewing the scores and will soon be notifying the students whether they are in the course or not. And to note, the students did an excellent job with that whole process. They were very happy. There was a Go Math update on Mr. Colmer reported that our district representative for Go Math informed him that week that the digital resources for the 2012 edition of Go Math, which currently use Adobe Flash, will no longer be available for teachers or students as of January 2021. Essentially, that is all the resources that the teachers relied upon for their courses. Mr. Colmer said that they are offering a significant discount for a new version, and the teachers will be, they're going to continue to use their legacy assessments, which are aligned with the standards-based report cards. Mr. Salmon just reported out on the summer intervention program for kindergarten, first and second graders, so I'm not going to repeat that. Both Jimmy and Mr. McCarrion talked about the anti-racism curriculum stuff that we talked about with BT Connect Council. The last thing we talked about was distance learning, K-5 and 6-10. Ms. Hosney presented the draft K-5 rollout. They're going to start with a daily flexible schedule, and each student and each subject area will have a specific allotment of minutes. They're streamlining the platforms for all K-5 students. In K-2, they're going to be using Seesaw, which they think is an easier platform for students and parents. In grades 3-5, they'll continue to use Google Classroom and Zoom. And there will be a combination of pre-recorded lessons and more live targeted instruction, which students will be expected to attend. So teachers will be sharing the workload across the district, so students may see other grade level teachers from other buildings or from a team within a building. Homeroom teachers will maintain the bulk of their small group instruction. 5th grade schedules will look a little different because of platooning. The schedules will list times that parents and students will know ahead of time and can plan for the live sessions. In addition, teachers will have time set aside for some extra help and Let's see. Teachers and elementary principals are particularly concerned about the incoming kindergartners who may not have any experience with distance learning, and the teachers, school, students, routines, all of it will be all new to them. So it's a little bit of a challenge. And everyone agreed that the sooner the new plans could be communicated to parents, the better, so that everybody is on the same page and can plan for the fall. I neglected to mention that we're all hoping that we're not having to do distance learning in the fall, but it's just a plan in case. In grades 6 through 12, Ms. Fox presented the draft schedule for them. There'll be a few more meetings. Sorry. First, teachers are looking for a little bit more accountability from the students. So teachers need students to attend their instruction to make it more meaningful. And in addition, students and parents are looking for more live sessions. So they worked with that feedback. There were positives to the A day, B day schedule that we are currently using for distance learning. And they are going to incorporate a bell schedule. So the purpose will be a Monday rollout day so that every class would meet the first short amount of time at the beginning of the week to build classroom culture, lay out the plans for the week, to do some SEL work, to maybe to do some character ed, or go over the platforms they need to use for the week. The team is working on the schedule to try to build in some flexibility at the end of the day for small group instruction if necessary. Tuesday through oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Tuesday through Friday, we'll have a hybrid of pre-recorded lessons and live instruction. Should we be in and out of the school that year, this type of schedule will be less confusing for students and teachers. Students will be required to attend the live sessions, but will know ahead of time what classes are meeting on what days and at what times, so they can make plans and to have their have the ability to come to the class. They are hopeful that the structured schedule will be better for teachers, students, and families juggling several student schedules and use of devices, because we know that was a challenge for some. They've tried to balance structure, accountability, flexibility, and balance of assignments, etc. And the teachers are in the process of reviewing the schedules and will hopefully be solidified soon. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Just for clarification, on the item you covered about return to instruction and possible schedules, sorry, are we, this is one of a number of possibilities, or this is just awaiting direction from or guidelines from the state as to what can or cannot happen?
Want me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that is like, I guess, option one. Should we still be in a distance learning environment? Obviously, we don't know what it's going to really look like yet for a variety of reasons, but we'll keep planning for different options, you know, until we know for sure.
Because that's fun.
Yeah.
Like roulette. Okay, any questions from board members?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have two, this one died. I have two computers going now. Hold on. Hold on. This one. The testing, I'm echoing right here. The testing that you did to the kindergarten kids.
If you turn the other computer off, you probably will lose the echo.
But
just turn the volume.
I can't hear from this one. Then I have to turn. I can't hear anyone.
Gotcha.
Something happened to my speakers.
Gotcha. Sorry.
But I had a question about the DIBELS testing you do for the K through 2, and it seemed like it was a lot of kids. See, a third of the kids testing that needed help seemed high to me, which I was very surprised at, because I don't know, we haven't been doing this forever, and it just seemed like really a third of kids coming into school, like, is the Dibbles test too hard? I don't know. It just seems like I just, it was just confusing to me because it just seems like a high number of kids, but that's just my ignorance. I don't know. But now I can't hear you, so I'm gonna have to turn the.
Oh. Can you hear me now? Can you hear now?
I think she wants you to do the
Answer
best.
me and I can look at the recording. So you can just answer me and
okay.
then I'll pretend I can hear you and then I'll look at the recording.
That works. You might want to add, Mr. Markarian, but basically, yeah, we recognize that since this program has been adopted, since we implemented Dibbles, and it is sort of the basis of a lot of the work we're doing. There's some curriculum writing this summer that sort of responds to that, the way the kids in kindergarten in particular performed on Dibbles, that we hope will correct that in the future.
I think that's a fair answer. And in addition to that, I know that we've identified this as something that the consultant that we're working with says is not atypical when you start this program.
Correct.
Any other questions or concerns or comments? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Richmond. Where are we? We're up to the Wellness Committee report. Mrs. White.
Wellness is meeting this Thursday, and so I will report out at the next meeting.
We're meeting this Thursday. Okay.
8 o'clock.
I know, I've got a graduate who needs to be at Ridge at 10 a.m. Okay, I'll figure it out. Okay, so then moving on to liaison committee reports. Does anyone have anything? No. Okay. Then we are on to public comment on non-agenda items.
There are no comments at this time.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then we have, our next item is board forum. Any thoughts for board forum? Feel free to jump in.
I know that we had the one agenda item on transportation for 2021. I feel like Mr. Salmon made that abundantly clear in his finance committee report. The only note that I'd like to add is that we were looking at possibly adding a Board of Ed meeting on the 24th of June, next week on Wednesday, the 24th at 7 p.m. I know I've already kind of screened board members for their availability that day. And the reason to do that would be to bring closure to the bidding process for bids that we receive on the 19th. So just a footnote to Mr. Salmon's minutes that we would look to have a board meeting next week on Wednesday to conduct just a few business items, 7 p.m.
Mrs. Schaefer.
I just want to say that, can you hear me? Okay. That I was really impressed that Jimmy and the group of students came to the BT Connect. I know I wasn't, and many of us weren't, but we've always said that we really value hearing from students, and I'm really proud and impressed with them for bringing a pretty loaded discussion to the committee and to the board even. And thank you. I think it's time, and we appreciate listening to students.
Mr. Salmon?
I just want to say congratulations to Pamela and Holly for their positions. I mean, I think from hearing Dr. Oliver having to screen 100 resumes for the assistant principal position at Liberty Corner, and for speaking on my own behalf on being the interview committee for the Oak Street School principal, I can say that the candidates, there was no shortage of qualified candidates, and we really are lucky here that we have such a great school district, because we got to see some really outstanding candidates in terms of credentials and experience and enthusiasm. So I really think that we're in a great position, and we have selected, new administrators for our elementary buildings, and Miss Foley and Pamela at Liberty Corner. So I'm really excited for them, and congratulations to them.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon. Mrs. Richmond.
I just wanted to say thank you to, I'm sure, the tons of volunteers and all the people who made it possible to put up the Bridge graduate signs down Collier, and all the athletes, and the banner across, you know, the center of town. And it was really nice to see all of the balloons in June going up around town, and giving the students that a little bit of piece of normalcy again. And because we're not going to be, I know it's not officially graduation, but on Thursday, but I wanted to wish them all the very best of luck, and, you know, good weather for their pictures. And I hope it all goes smoothly and well, and they enjoy their time, it's, you know, to shine.
Anyone else? Mrs. White?
I just wanted to say that I wanted to just thank the administration on everything you've been doing, because it seems like you take a step forward and make a plan, and bam, you're smacked with, now here's something else you can do, when you've just made a plan because you didn't think that we could do it. And I think we've gotten very little guidance. I think it leads to parent frustration, and quite frankly, parents getting angry and directing it at the wrong place, which is at you or at us, as opposed to, you know, recognizing that, you know, this is new territory for everybody, and we're just doing the best we can. You're doing the best you can, and it's just a tough situation that everybody's in.
Did I see another hand? Mrs. Korn.
I'd like to second that because I think you guys are doing a great job. I was actually taking a walk when they were setting up all the senior pictures, and it was, Hank was out there, and Karen Hudak, and all the volunteers from the school, and it was so nice to see. And it was hot, and they had to wear the masks, and it was just, they just were working really hard, and they're doing something really nice that everyone in town can see, and it was nice. And I get parents' frustrations, but it's not really fair to say that we don't care, the administration doesn't care. It's not the right tone or the right thing to say that when you guys are working like almost 24/7. I mean, I can't really emphasize enough how hard people are working to try to make this, I can't say normal, or make it at least acceptable or better than it would be. And it doesn't help that you do make a plan, and then it's like Marines at a whim almost. It's really not fair. So and if they really want to do something, write to our representatives to get someone changes, because their rules hamstring us. Our hands are tied, and it's easy to blame people when it's not your job on the line, when it's not you. Like, you know, they can yell at the administration, but you guys can't break laws just so someone can have a graduation. You know, it just isn't how it works. So I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you're doing the best we can. And hopefully people can see that it's not because people don't care. It's because it's almost like doing a tap dance, trying to figure out what we can do and what we can't do. And it changes almost every single day. And it's very frustrating for everyone. So patience. And I mean, I'm telling you, seeing the balloons, it almost brings me to tears, because I feel bad for these kids, but it's not because we are not doing something for them. It's because we're not allowed to do something for them.
I agree with everything that everyone said. I just wanted to also shout out to all the teachers and staff members that have been working on these videos and things for the students. I haven't watched the 8th grade like goodbye video that the teachers made for the 8th graders yet, but it came out today, and apparently everyone was in tears when they were watching it. So I was afraid to watch it before the board meeting because I might lose it. So So a lot of people have been putting in a lot of work, and I've heard a lot of parents, I think when they see that kind of thing and when they went to pick up their stuff and saw that all the staff members, you know, that were working so hard to organize all these things, you know what I mean, at the schools, I think maybe it makes more of an impact on them.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything that you guys are saying. It has been a challenge. Obviously, we're not feeling that we can do everything that we might like to do. We are doing our best. And I really want to thank all the staff that have really gone above and beyond, sweating it out. And, you know, they're doing things that are, you know, just not normally asked in terms of teaching virtually, you know, acting as, you know, manual labor and loading and unloading and moving and packing and hauling things around, and they're just doing an amazing amount of stuff, you know, going through buildings and finding things that, you know, belong to different students and organizing them and delivering them, trying to make sure that the students have everything. They have been working really hard, and, you know, of course we feel that, you know, we'd love to do more. And it's not a perfect situation, but they are working hard. They're putting in a ton of time, you know, and I have to say too that things don't work without cooperation and help. And I have to thank the public, because everything that I've heard about every activity that the administration has sent instructions about, where we've asked the community members when they visit a school to follow certain procedures, they've been doing it. And we really have to have that cooperation. Otherwise, the plans that we put out there are not going to fly. And everything that I've heard coming from the administrators and the staff working at the schools, processing all the visitors, everything they've told me is that it's gone really smoothly. So we really appreciate the help of the public in that. And if anyone's watching, I'm just putting a plug out there. Thank you for following instructions. Please keep following instructions. I know we have been hammering people with emails and directions, and everybody's ready for a break from that. But if you could just hang in there a few more days, especially Thursday, weather permitting at Ridge, we have kind of a complicated scenario that we're trying to make work smoothly. So if you could really follow the instructions in that photo opportunity on Thursday, and know that we know that's not a graduation ceremony. That's not what we're calling it. We're trying to give the kids a chance to get on leave field and have a photo opportunity. And we are planning a summer in-person graduation ceremony. So we really appreciate all the help from the public in following directions, because without that, the best laid plans are not going to work. So thank you for that.
Mrs. Schaefer.
I just also want to thank the teachers as we head into the last week. I know everybody's been working really, really hard, and the stuff that they're coming up with. We've got 2 days now. Kids are kind of excited about seeing their teachers and their friends. At least that's the Ridge schedule. So we've got some online classes that are going to be happening, and whew, we made it. So thank you.
Anyone else? I just want to say, as little as possible, because I'm going to cry. Thank you to the balloon deliverers today, to every teacher who rang a doorbell in the last week to either deliver. I know my daughter's Latin teacher dropped off a goodie bag at our house. I know they delivered caps and gowns and belongings, and I know it was long and it was hard. And I from the sounds of things, some of the staff made it into like a really fun little outing, and kudos to them. You know, I know Ms. Fox made a special appearance as well. Everyone has worked so hard to try to make lemonade out of the lemons that this senior class has been handed. And I know there's a lot of people who have said all kinds of things about, oh, what Mrs. Korn referred to, you know, oh, this or that, they don't care. That's not it at all. It's a moving target. It's been a moving target from the get-go. And I appreciate the efforts that have been made to try to mark the occasion that would have been the graduation on Thursday, and now to plan something later on. Thank you to everyone who has taken part in every last bit of helping all of our students from K to 12 get to this point at the end of this unbelievably crazy school year. We can never thank you enough, because we know that the sacrifices have been many, and you've risen to the challenges. So thank you all, including our administrators here.
I just wanted to add that we're talking about all the people who have worked so hard. The students were amazing during this whole thing, because it was really hard. And I mean, I'm like really amazed by how they adapted, even the really little kids. And sometimes I'd be walking past a Zoom meeting of my 4th grader and see these kids and how they were participating. And I was like so impressed that they were even able to pull together and do all this stuff. And I know it's been super hard on all the kids being socially distanced, and overall they've been troopers. And you know, I don't know if I would have dealt with it that well when I was that age, but they've really been amazing. I think they're going to be really resilient people after this.
Anyone else? Okay, then I think it might be time for a motion for adjournment. Mr. Salmon and Mrs. White. All in favor? I think we're unanimous, Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Good night, everybody. Thanks again, Jimmy. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Jimmy.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Thank
Hi,
you.
Jimmy.
Bye.